Hello YouTube, this is Tofu speaking. When this video goes live, I would have about 100 subscribers by now. So I would like to thank everyone for their continued support and their inputs towards making this channel better, and as well for me as being a better YouTuber. So, well, I would like to celebrate this occasion by making a 100 subscribers special video. Sadly, I don't have access to a community post or something like that, and I don't even have a Discord. So I'm just gonna do whatever I want for this subscriber special, really. Well, I guess you can do better than that. So what I'm thinking for this 100 sub special is that I was originally thinking on the draft that I would like to make like really good budget PvP units, especially one you can farm for like the EN server right now. Especially would be nice for new players who want to jump into PvP, or like CB players who are tired of CB and want like to establish a foothold on their arena income, basically, because arena income is actually quite a lot really compared to CB depending on where do you stand. And although I actually ended up almost completing draft, it turns out that literally everyone here is just make her 6-star. That's the entire point of the video. It's just make her everything 6-star. So I thought to myself, why not just make a 6-star video? So like, yeah, that's actually the better idea. So in this video, I would like just to mention 6-star units that you want to keep an eye out. PvP edition, really, because CB edition, I guess we'll probably just stay to 2024, because those are where the CB units started to show up. And for this video, I will put some restrictions, is that only 6 stars, there are 6 stars released in the next 6 months, or 7, depending on where you want to look at it. And all of them are mostly PvP focused, but if they have CB applications, I will mention it in the video as well in a special section, because CB units are very finicky, and some of these 6 stars are also good in CB. So, well, enjoy the video. So the first one I would like to give a mention is the next 6-star that is coming out in EN at the time of this recording, which is EO 6-star. Her role is as a Batman Magic Disruptor, and her release date is actually in the 1st of November 2022. So what is special about EO 6-star that most people in the Discord server, in main court especially, often mention as, oh, she's like the eternal support, she never falls off the PvP meta, you always have to face her, you always have to see her, etc, etc. So there's a lot of good things that EO 6-star is blessed with, not just her assets, but some of her skills and unit burst gets buffed to the moon as well. So the first aspect is that her 6-star gives her enough stats that a Reno that isn't buffed and does not crit, for example, does not have Mitsuki or does not crit, will never kill EO. So it's basically like Kyaru 6-star, where you often notice where Kyaru, if Reno doesn't crit and the enemy does not have Mitsuki, Kyaru will oftentimes survive because she doesn't actually have paper defense anymore. She has a lot of HP. It's the same for EO, so it actually gets worse for the Reno player because EO will respond with an extremely powerful unit burst, which not only has buff base power, so now the base power of EO is able to break past Yukari's 5-star or 5-star Yukari Magic Veil skill. So her unit burst completely worthless on EO 6-star. You have to wait for next month when Yukari 6-star drops to actually make a substantial impact against EO 6-star. Not only EO 6-star has high base damage, it also steals TP from the all enemies hit. It also reduces their TP boost, so they will have a harder time coming back from an EO bomb. And with the addition of the health and defenses as well as buff magic attack from her 6-star, it makes EO extremely powerful as a disruptor and as a staller. Not to mention she also can function as a sort of semi-DPS because of the extra stats that she gets from her 6-star ascension. And you can see how EO is literally unstoppable in Arena. Even in JP server, where EO is definitely outclapped when it comes to DPS, her charm block still is the one of very powerful utility, and often people would just use EO just for the charm alone, when even units have extremely high magical defense or magical resistance, or they just have Yukari 6-star. She is almost unstoppable in the month of her launch, and needs dedicated anti-mage units in every attack team to handle her. Sure, in Princess Arena there's only one EO, but it forces team building in a way that I'm gonna have to fish for where the EO is, because if I don't see the EO, then my team is going to suck. That's basically how much EO changes the metagame, especially for the month without Yukari 6-star. So much that people would have to mentally prepare for EO, especially because of how she changes team building as well as Princess Arena allocation. She is very splashable to any team, not just because of the assets, but because she never falls off the meta. She fits well into many sort of teams. Stall, she's okay. Magic Beat, she's okay. She can protect Kasumi too, especially if your Kasumi isn't exactly the bulkiest thing in the world because of CB obligations. Or even she fits into fat teams as well. And the best thing is, she's not really reliant on batteries, because she can do other stuff as well, not just the charm lock, such as, example, TP stealing from units that are charmed, and she also has a charm skill on her skill 1 anyway, so EO is still capable of doing charm stuff even though she's not actually charming people. The problem? Well, I guess the problem is actually addressing her next month, because Yukari 6-star does come out the month after EO, and it would actually make EO slightly worse in this regard. But still extremely powerful to have and to use in Arena. So after that bravado, which I mentioned that EO needs Yukari to survive, and well, Cygames responded. The next month they gave Yukari to save all of us plebeians from EO's charms, assets, strengths really. No. We're not talking about degenerate stuff in this channel. So what does Yukari 6-star do? Yukari 6-star makes Yukari into one of arguably the best support unit in the game for general content, especially in her launch, but also in future releases as well. Of course, the 6-star buff still applies. She still gets a lot of HP, physical, and magical defense. This allows Yukari to have a comparable defense to stuff like 5-star Shizuru and the like. So it means one thing, she can face tank. Yes, Yukari tanking is now more legit than ever because of the buffs from her 6-star. Not only that, she also has really good longevity thanks to her new Union Burst, which not only doubles her magic Bale negate base, so basically she negates more magic damage than usual. She also provides an AoE heal to everyone, which is very good if you are face tanking with Yukari. That means that she can loop her Union Burst much more effectively, as well as providing magic defense buff as well. So not only she heals you from EO Storm, she is also able to prevent more EO Storms from coming to affect your entire team. She has infinite utility after 6-star between her good book, her magic trail, her TP battery skill, which is still very relevant because Yukari, it comes with Yukari, so might as well just use it, and a very strong heal, although you might have to look at the Yukari Bible in order to use her skill. If 5-star Yukari is not impressing you enough, her 6-star will impress you and do it all over again. So you better just raise that Yukari pretty quick, get her from the dungeon shop like Maho, get her done very quickly. Just use your dungeon shops to get Yukari 6-star very fast, and then you're golden. That's Yukari's peak performance right there. And as for her problems, I guess, well, her Union Burst magic fill is not always the best, but now the fact that Union Burst actually does something else other than just buffing, providing a magic negate, you are actually finding more value from Yukari 6-star, and this connect is starting to erode the longer Yukari 6-star stays in the metagame. Mage teams are catching up faster than physical teams, and since mage teams are generally better for DPS overall, Yukari is always going to be used as a check for magic teams such as Princess Yui or Summer Hatsune or other units in the future. And speaking of very important supports in the game, here comes Maho 6-star, arguably the best 6-star in the game. That's a big claim, really, yeah, but it actually is. Maho 6-star is probably the best 6-star in the game for like her entire lifespan. I don't think there's another 6-star that is as good as her except for Jita, and Jita is still like 2 years from now, so Maho still reigns supreme in this regard. So what brings Maho into staple/eternal status? Maho 6-star provides her with the most busted UB you can ever think of. So you imagine that something like Christmas Chica is still extremely good because of the fact that you can loop her UB, generate a ton of birds or cells, and then heal, and then they die, and then you just do it all over again because that's called a loop. Now what if the loop was actually just providing 120 TP to everyone, as well as providing magic attack buff to everyone as well? Now isn't that sound very juicy? Sure, because that's what Yukari teams are usually built with. So Maho is part of those 4 eternal magic support units. The first one is Naneka, which we already get. The second one is Maho, which we will get, the 6-star 4. The third one is New Year's Naneka, which we'll get much later next year. And the fourth one is Oido Yuki, which is also very strong in her own right and is also obtainable next year as well. Although the increase in HP and defenses are counterintuitive with how loops are played, we will find a way around that. In the case of where Maho is actually used, clans would want a suite of different Mahos, where the Maho, you have different bulk levels depending on the boss and depending on the CB itself. So every Maho will have different levels, different ranks, different EX skills, different levels, different rank, different everything to accommodate for every single boss in the game. Bosses don't always stay the same. In the future, there will be different bosses. So in the future, we will also have to change our strategy because of the fact that the increase of power creep allows for more degenerate bosses to just show up. In this case, Maho is basically our weapon to fight against these monstrosities. So Maho can be played as a PvP unit with a Gigamax strategy, with a max UB and the max UE scale and max everything, max rank, max whatnot, you know what I mean, right? You can play her for Gigamax, or you can use her for CB looping, as I mentioned earlier. She is still being used today in the Japanese server, and since the Chinese server just got her, she is one of the most, not really got her, sorry, I mean the Thailand server still got her. She is one of the most borrowed units in all those 3 servers because of the fact that Maho is extremely versatile and she is still very strong at what she does. So after the Christmas Chica massacre, the Spirit Massacre, where you have a cap towards increasing TP, Maho stands out as being one of the most borrowed units in the game on JP server. As for problems is the same as Kokoro actually. You either have her for PvP or you either have her for clan battle. You can't have her for both. Sure, it is possible to have her for both, but it's not optimal, obviously. And to this, I would really recommend you, again, like Yukari, to get EO done as fast as possible. However, it is still wise for you to not touch Maho until CB comes, or if you want to use her for PvP, just max her immediately. She's still a very strong staller and healer regardless, as well as providing TP for the entire team, which is still an extremely strong effect. Although a bit slow, but it's still very workable. The February 2023 update will provide us with all 3 Twinkle Wish members 6-star upgrades. Hiyori becomes an extremely powerful AoE cleaver until later down the line. Rei becomes an extremely powerful single target CB specialist because she hits really hard, really good on bosses as well. Being able to detone Christina is no feat without her unique equipment. And of course the Yui, the one with the longest shelf life and is the one with the least scope option even in JP server right now. So what is Yui 6-star doing really? 6-star provides Yui with an extremely powerful Union Burst buff in addition to the extra stats that she obtains later down as well. It has an increased base healing power, it doubles all allies' action speed, so literally every time she uses her Yubi, everybody gets a Monica buff, and it also provides a physical barrier and an increased physical defense. Yui and Maho can be considered almost like two peas in a pod, with Maho is being the magic attack specialist and Yui being the physical defense, physical attack specialist. However, unlike Maho, the physical defense and physical attack side turns out to become less valuable or less important as the metagame progressed for CB and for Arena. However, the physical barrier is still very relevant for the arena side of things because preventing damage is extremely powerful and you are able to block a lot of lethal kills. So in this sense, Yui becomes more of an arena side stick later down the line, although early on in her shelf life, Yui is more of a CB unit because of the healing capabilities, much like Misato works in loops as well. Not only that, Yui 6-star is still relevant in JP Arena because of her unique traits such as the healing and the buff barrier until maybe Ahmed, because Ahmed is really dumb. And her bone buff for story 12 is really important for helping other Yui options such as Princess Yui, most notably because Princess Yui is really dumb. And then you have the newest Yui as well, although newest Yui doesn't really benefit much from this Yui, as well as Summer Yui, which is like later down the line, but she really appreciates having the extra magic attack from this Bond 12 Yui as well. Keep in mind that Bond 12 Yui might contain magic defense at launch, so you might want to wait a bit before actually reading them. But if you are for Arena, if you live for Arena, then it doesn't really matter. You just read all anyway, right? As for next, really it's the same as Maho. You either make her PvP, Giga Break, or you make her for CB, which is like really specific as usual. If you want to build for CB Yui for Arena, it is possible, but it's suboptimal as she might die very early. It's like Kokoro 6-star, where you can build her for PvP, or you can build her for CB, but you can't do really tough Kokoro timelines as a PvP Kokoro. You have to build with the very specific CB Kokoro with like the level 138 in the rank 10s and whatnot. In this case, Yui turns out to be the only Twinkle Wish 6-star with the longest shelf life. And if you want to build 6-star Yui, I suggest you wait her out, but at the end, Yui turns out to be one of the strongest Twinkle Wish 6-star in the game later down the line as well. Following the release of the really strong Twinkle Wish 6-stars, we have Hatsune 6-star, and if you don't know, Hatsune is like my fourth favorite girl of this game behind like all the Kamina girls. But that is aside the point. Hatsune 6-star is more of a better side grade to Kyaru 6-star because unlike Kyaru 6-star, Hatsune isn't a vanilla AoE magic unit. Kyaru is more like this. Why I say magic, vanilla magic, is because Kyaru is like, oh, I just have this magic action bomb and I have like reduced armor and that's pretty much it. And I have a big damage UB, but that's it. I only exist to throw out my UB as fast as possible. But Hatsune has more utility. The fact that Hatsune, usually you run Kyaru Hatsune, right? For example, for certain matches. But now you just can't run the Hatsune because you don't need the Kyaru, as the Kyaru is already inside the Hatsune because of the extra UB modded. Because of damage from Kyaru, it's already inside Hatsune. Against physical threats mostly. Against magical threats, you are still better off using Kyaru because Hatsune won't deal as damage towards magical units, but Kyaru is more consistent. That's why I say it's a side grade other than the power creep, because they have slightly different niche cases. However, in the case where physical arena defense is still very strong, Hatsune just completely demolishes them. Not only for arena defense as well, but Hatsune is also good for stuff like mob story content where she murders all the mobs because most mobs are physical attackers, as well as some bosses and even some CBs, because in the case of multi-target AoE CBs where you need a magic AoE beater, Hatsune is definitely one for the taking in that regard. Either you have her with Kyaru or you replace Kyaru entirely, like mentioned earlier, as well as her being a potential good looper if you need an AoE magic unit for clan battle. Not the most ideal, honestly, but Hatsune does get the job done better than, say, maybe Kyaru or even Iria, because Hatsune has extra damage against physical enemies. As for her next, well, she does have a problem against Yukari, because Yukari can just hardware her to death. I mean, like, you have Reno to face Yukari, right? You really have your options laid out for you. So, in fact, in the light of that fact, Hatsune is a really good, better side grade forward Kyaru. Not necessarily better than Kyaru in some cases, but in the case where Hatsune is really good, which is a lot of the time, Hatsune is going to completely steamroll games like nobody's business. So I originally wanted to stop at Hatsune, but then I realized it's just 5 units and I need a 6, so I just add Mifuyu. Why not Tamaki? It's because Tamaki is pretty much doesn't really change on what she does. She's still a specialist and a really good EU killer, but Mifuyu has a completely different mechanic after 6-star, which completely changes her viability in PvP. Especially, Mifuyu's 6-star gives her enough bulk to stand as a face tank. She sits in front of Iria and behind Monica, which is a pretty good place where you want to stand. That means that Mifuyu doesn't really stand too far away from other midlines, as well as she's not standing too back behind for other mages. That means stuff like Cleave and such won't really affect your tanky mages like PvP Kasumi, for example. An action 1 stun for Mifuyu from her skill 2 is extremely strong, paired with her skill 1, which gives her a lot of defense and healing, as well as her stun skill 1. It gives her a really good counter and really good response towards really strong action 1 face tanks like Ninon 6-star later, as well as other tanks which tries to do funny stuff. And Mifuyu's extra bulk from that 6-star, as I mentioned earlier, allows her to be in good shape to abuse it as a position 1 face tank. Her Union Burst ability to become a pseudo AoE attack when hitting a stunned enemy, as well as giving a lot of stun towards an enemy that hasn't been stunned yet, is really strong, and it is always appreciated as it also buffs her own total damage and allows her to lock down any sort of funny business from stuff like Hiyori and Ninon and other really funny face tanks that try to be in position 1. And Mifuyu is just out of the hard counter and more of a support for the backline mages in a vacuum. She's an extremely powerful, she's really good at what she does, and she's really a good support / DPS tank whenever you need it and whenever you really have to field Mifuyu. This is where Mifuyu actually started to become pretty famous towards the GP community as a really good utility unit, and it gives Mifuyu a reputation for essentially her ult later down the line, as well as being like a solid DPS / tanky unit that functions well within almost all aspects of the game, really. Be it PvP or be it in story, Mifuyu always has a position in everyone's hearts. So with that, we have arrived at the end of the video. I am very excited for the 6 stars that will come in the following months. And about the Kokoro pictures, yeah, I was bribed by the Kokoro appreciation community to have the Kokoro gifts as part of the end screen. So, well, enjoy your Kokoro pictures, I guess. Well, this is Tofu signing out.